The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Armed Media, New Productions and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
It's always been black women. We always come in and fix it. It's what we do.
Candy. Unwrap that candy, baby.
Take you to the candy shop.
I taste just like candy.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Ask for Candy, where we talk about healing, self-care, love, sex, relationships, and what it takes to be amazing on the daily. Who I am is CandiceHarperLoveCoach.com, and my purpose with this podcast is to create healthy romantic relationships all around the world through self-love, soul connections, and sweetness. But before we get to that, we're here with our production partner, Holi-dating Magazine, and my Brian. Hi, Brian.
What is up? I've been waiting for this one.
I know. I'm excited about it. You know,
Wow.
and as I was thinking about it, I was like, I wonder if Brian's going to be interested in this topic because, you know, he's my married man, Deus Ex Machina. Is he going to care about what dating people are doing on the holidays? But I imagine you probably have some friends, family members who are single, who have you ever tried to like match them up, or do you worry about them around the holidays?
Well, I kind of gave that up a while.
Did you?
I might mysteriously put a couple people together.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like they just happen to be at a holiday little celebration.
Yeah.
You let them work it out.
So you're like matchmaking on the DL.
That's right.
I love it.
You gotta let nature take its course.
You gotta let nature take its course. And you know, there's nothing wrong with that. As long as you're not one of those family members that's out there pressuring people, because we know we have those too, right?
Mm-hmm. The auntie.
Right?
Like a strapping man. I want you to meet my
But you didn't even meet or asking you, well, why'd you show up alone? Right? Which they do that. Mothers do that, fathers do that, aunts and uncles. Yes, they definitely do that. So, you know, tonight we're going to dive into this topic. We're going to talk about this holi-dating through COVID. But first, so everybody knows, those of you who've been with us, you know that we're live on social media every Wednesday at 7 here with Holi-dating Magazine. And you can check us out. We're part of Holi-dating TV, which has a whole host of shows and, you know, fantastic hosts and guests. And, you know, we're talking about growth and purpose and passion and living and all that good stuff. And you can watch us on Holi-dating TV on YouTube, or you can go to Holi-dating.com and check us out and check out Holi-dating Magazine. And then also you can subscribe to the audio broadcast of Ask for Candy on Anchor, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and wherever you normally download your podcasts. And if you're watching the show, I know, you know what, this is social media. So, and we talk about sensitive topics. So for those of you who are at home and sometimes you think of things, or you're wondering, like, you know, if you want to share, or you feel like you want to be in the conversation, but you don't want to tell all your business, I always recommend that you email me at askforcandypodcast@gmail.com. You can send me your comments, your questions, you know, whatever you're thinking about. And if you want to remain anonymous, I usually will just use it as a topic or talk about it on a later show. So those are all the ways that you can get in touch. And for those of you who are new to the show and have never listened before, for almost 9 years, I have been a relationship coach and a workshop facilitator. And you can now go to mywellbeing.com to work with me one-on-one. I'm also a professional matchmaker with Luma, luxury matchmaking service. And they bring high-end singles together to find their perfect love. And this is me living into my purpose of loving myself unconditionally and inspiring others to do the same, using their romantic lives as a portal, an inspiration, a catalyst to our highest possible selves. And relationship coaching is my zone of genius. And the best part about it is that week to week, I get to grow and learn as I interact with hundreds of people around the world, around the most intimate parts of their lives. People be telling me all their secrets, Brian. They be telling, as they should, right? They tell me all the. I am working on a book about it, and then a TV series. I feel like people.
No, we're just kidding, y'all.
But I think that that's valid. It's just you leave people anonymous, right? Because I do run into a lot of interesting stories. And what it is that it's human interest. And it's also, when we share what's going on with us, we don't always want to be public about it, right? We all have things that we don't necessarily want to be public about. But when we share what's going on with us, especially around our relationships, there's always somebody out there who's going to relate to it or resonate with it. And then you help other people by sharing your story. So I actually would write a book about some of the things people tell me. I would just protect, change the names to protect the innocent.
You do that best man kind of thing.
Yes. Wait,
but it didn't turn out so well.
Wait, when he wrote his book in the movie? Yes, I would do that kind of thing, but then just not about the people who are, my own people. So I don't have to see them every day afterwards. So yeah, the best part about it is week to week, I get to grow and learn as I interact with hundreds of people around the world, like I was saying, around the most intimate parts of their lives. And I get to take people on their journey from caterpillar to butterfly, unhappy with their love lives or their partners to ecstatic. And I get to teach people how to get out of their own way and tap into love as a limitless resource. I also get to learn from people about getting out of my own way and tapping into love as a limitless resource. It's very much a partnership. It's very much an exchange because we are all in different stages of growth at different times. And so I do that using tools like EFT, which is like a tapping, if you've ever heard of tapping, RTT hypnotherapy, and my own coaching curriculum. And most importantly, of all I get to do is that I get to be part of what supports healthy beginnings and sustainably healthy relationships. I get to be the cause of self-love, soul connections, and sweetness. And that's what we're all about tonight. Tonight is going to be all about that sweetness because the holidays are coming. Right. And you know how I like, because I wasn't even thinking about the holidays. I feel like, I don't know about everybody else, but with all of this election stuff and all of this pandemic stuff, like, it didn't even occur to me that Christmas is so close. It definitely didn't occur to me that Thanksgiving is so close. Even Halloween, because we were limited in how we could celebrate that, I just kind of like came and went, right? But I was walking my dog, walking down the street. And because it's been so warm, we're in the New Jersey, or I'm in the New Jersey area, and in the tri-state area, and probably for you too, Brian, in DC, it's been so warm. And so I'm walking down the street, and it's like dark, and I turn, and someone has their like living room lights on, and I see this huge Christmas tree. And this huge Christmas tree.
Already?
Well, I don't know, because it's November, and that's funny that you say already, because that's what went through my mind. I was like, they put their Christmas tree up already? But then I thought about it, and it is November.
Yeah, but I mean, the Christmas turkey ain't even warm yet. I mean,
the Thanksgiving turkey, right? Well, what is the usual?
When people love Christmas.
When people love Christmas. But, what's the usual tradition? I feel like some people wait till the last minute. I'm somebody who, like, with a Christmas tree, I'll usually wait till the last minute. But I feel like that, people who are big on holidays, a lot of times, like November, right after Halloween is kind of the decorating time.
Yeah. But some people still got their Halloween stuff up.
Right? Some people have Christmas up from last year, so they don't have to do anything. And that I'm that kind of person. That's why I often, like, when I'm on my own, I often don't do major decorating. Like, I'll go to, other people's houses or friends' houses or, whoever I'm dating, whatever, and we'll do decorating. But if it's just me, I don't do it because I know it's going to be the same decorations up that next year. Right? That's just how we do sometimes. But yeah, tonight we're going to talk about holi-dating. Holi-dating through COVID. I did not coin the phrase holi-dating. There's actually a Netflix movie. It's a terrible movie, but it's called Holi-date. And so I was like, oh, that's cute. Because what I'm really present to right now, especially with matchmaking and what's going on with my clients, is that a lot of people are not only concerned about the whole COVID thing, but also how to navigate dating through the holidays. A lot of people are saying, is it even worth it to be trying during the holidays? Should I even be bothering? And we're still in the midst of the pandemic and experiencing spikes in different parts of the country. And the holidays are upon us. You know, like we're saying, before we know it, we're only a couple of weeks from Thanksgiving, which is usually like that first kind of holiday of expectation. But also, you know, we're limiting head counts around the table, I would imagine. Don't you think, Brian, that maybe people are having like less people over?
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's not that kind of like,
Close that door.
I feel like it's not that kind of like big family gatherings that I don't think they'll be as common, right?
Yeah, I think people are probably going to do the whole virtual kind of thing. They'll be doing Zoom calls and other kinds of things. Because, I mean, people want to make sure that their families are okay. Yeah. So it's going to be, you know, a lot more digital, which, you know, the good news is that because of that, perhaps for the single people, the pressure to bring a significant other won't be so strong. Right? But then the not so good news about that is that if we don't continue to utilize alternative ways to keep up connection, a lot of single people could end up feeling isolated. So, you know, this is why I wanted to do this topic, you know, and myself included. Like I have places I could go and friends I could, you know, eat some dinner with and things like that. But, you know, ultimately at the end of the day, with the holidays, it's like, you know, we're used to gathering together and you sleep over. And remember when you were young and like, did you guys do it where everybody went to your parents' house? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Do you still do that?
Absolutely.
Do you still do that now or pre-COVID?
Well, yeah, pre-COVID.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You know, we were, you know, we get some sides, you know, you do a little potluck kind of thing.
Yeah. Like everybody brings.
And you know about that.
I do.
Yeah. Somebody make the greens.
Yeah.
Someone else make the dressing. You know?
The dressing.
Somebody else might make a dessert.
Yeah.
Pie.
Why do you sound so Southern? Why did you go so Southern all of a sudden?
Because that's all I grew up
Did you?
There wasn't no shepherd's pie, nothing like that.
No, it was pie. It was sweet potato pie. Well, with us, like when I was like my younger adulthood, especially when I was in school, I mean, my family, you know, I come from a military family, and as I was growing up, we did some level of moving, and I think that's just what we all got used to. And so all of the children, we all dispersed. You know, my sisters, they got married. Everybody lived in a different state. My older sister's husband, he's, you know, a general in the Army, so her whole relationship has been them moving around different states. So whenever we've gotten together for holidays, it was always everybody convened at my mom's house. But because we were coming from different states, you know, we would do all the cooking in the kitchen. And so that would be the big thing, especially Thanksgiving, especially Christmas, that everybody would come, everybody would cook, and it would be, a big, huge family thing. And so, you know, for me, there were a couple times where I did bring a significant other, but, you know, generally I've always kept significant others kind of close to the vest. Because they have to be real significant to be coming to my house.
You don't bring just anybody.
You don't bring just anybody, right? You don't just bring, whoever is your side activity. Whoever you're hanging out with that week, and it just so happens that Thanksgiving, showed up.
You know that person's going to get put through the ringer too. I mean, people are going to ask all kinds of questions.
Exactly. And have an expectation that if they're there for the holiday, that it's got to be serious. Right? Yeah. So, I say all of this to say, whether or not we're in a location where there are COVID spikes or however we're doing it with the getting together, whether it's all going to be on Zoom, there are opportunities here. There are opportunities for single people who want to continue to date. And I get it. For a lot of people, there's, the world is shifting. And so for a lot of people, it's like, oh, let me just put all this on hold. But I don't want us to miss out on the opportunities and what is possible if we sort of leverage everything that's going on right now. If we leverage the fact that we have digital communication and leverage that COVID has us shifting the way that we're doing things, right?
Yeah, that's important.
It's important. Yeah. And there's ways to do it. So, you can ramp up your love search and actually make dating better by using the current conditions. And I want to talk about some of the things that COVID has gifted us with which I know that for the most part, the conversation with COVID is like, what it has done to all of us. But the invitation is just to be open to how these major shifts in the world, where there is gift in them. And it's not to negate where there's tragedy. And it's not to pretend like it's not serious, or to blow it off and treat it like it's not serious, or to be irresponsible. It's how can I actually leverage what's happening in the world right now as an opportunity, right? Especially if I am healthy, right? Because that's a lot to be grateful for right now. And right. And I have access to, things like computers and internet and all of that stuff. How can I leverage? How can I use COVID? How can I use these shifts in the world and the fact that it's the holidays to still make my love life amazing, and actually even make it better, and actually really laser focus my search for whatever it is I'm searching for, which I think that's,
I like that.
Right? So I always come up with a list.
All right. I'm ready.
Yeah, are you ready? You ready for the list? So the first way to sort of leverage everything that COVID has gifted us with as far as dating and mating over the holidays is the fact that everybody, and by everybody I mean probably a really large percentage of the population, the single population especially, is open to digital communication. So we had Zoom before the pandemic, right? But do you remember, Brian, how like Zoom was a tool that you could use, but it was sort of like a last resort. It was because we were so far away, or a scheduling thing, right?
Oh yeah, people didn't want to use Zoom because they were more worried about, what's my hair gonna look like? But, I can't talk with just my drawers on.
Right?
Put something on.
Right? I think that before the pandemic, we really, Zoom was really reserved for like, absolute need. Right? But now everybody's on board with it. And what I find in the dating world, and for single people out there, the way to leverage that is that it is so much easier. It's so much easier than first dates in so many ways. And not just that it's so much less of a financial commitment and a logistic commitment. It allows for just full on conversation. Right? You might, I've had people say things like, well, the only thing about it is that I worry too much about how I look on camera, and if I'm watching myself on camera, and, like we come up with all of these things that make it like, that's why it wouldn't work. But when you think about comparing, dating digitally and using Zoom, using FaceTime, to when you actually get dressed up and go out on a date with someone, and how much outer distraction and stimulation goes on a first date, especially on a first date, right? The good thing about it is that it just takes all of that away, so that you can just sit and figure out if you can have a conversation with that person, right? So, and here's the thing about it, it's a valid thing that people say that they don't feel like they detect physical chemistry in a Zoom date. An initial Zoom date. And I get that. That is, totally valid, because it's not the same as like having that sort of physical interaction. But that's another really big selling point about it, is that it slows things down in that way. So if you are someone who's relationship minded, you get to slow down and just see if we do have a great conversation, then we can segue into a point where we meet face to face and figure out the trajectory with that, and just allow it to have its own pace, and let the logistics kind of dictate the speed at which we get to know each other, right? Rather than, okay, we can just hurry up and just get together and not have to worry about it, and then all the stuff that ensues with that. And I'm not saying that we're human. Of course we want to meet each other face to face. I'm not saying that the desire to do that shouldn't be there, but use the fact that digital communication is the primary way. When we use that and leverage it, we get to have some payoff from it. We also get to figure out who's even worth our time. 30, 40 minutes on a Zoom call with somebody, and then if they're totally not somebody that you can even deal with, or they do anything that's, inappropriate or out of sorts, you can always hang up, right? And because it's the holidays, you'll have more time off, more time to be talking to people, vetting people, and just, being in that relaxation mode. So, yeah. Yeah.
That's a good point, Candy. I mean, I never thought about it from the perspective of, that it's easier and you can have easier access.
Yeah.
But the fact that it can be used to slow things down.
Totally. And here's the thing.
Like
the thing, too, is slow things down, slow it down to conversation. What we tend to forget, not that chemistry is not important, not that physical attraction is not important, but we tend to forget that the most important thing is that we can talk to each other.
Okay.
Right? So that's another amazing thing that it gains for us, is that you get to just find out if you can talk to somebody. Just sit and talk. And there's going to be a time, especially if you end up with that person. I mean, think about it, Brian. How long you been married? 5 years, you said?
5 glorious years.
Right? And think about the moments when all there was sitting and talking for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And as we grow together and age together and life happens together and, all there is talking, being able to talk to each other, being able to communicate. So we don't want to negate the value in that, because then we miss out. And that's why this is a perfect opportunity, because it's forcing even those people who don't like to do that. When I'm matchmaking and screening people, there are people who just don't even want to settle their brain enough to sit and have a conversation. They don't want to slow down enough. A lot of times it's more often men than women, but, because it's like, just make sure she's hot. Just match me with somebody who looks good. And then they want to meet and they want to make it happen. Not all of them, but that tends to be there. Some people tend to have an urgency around it. But what's beautiful is that everybody's kind of forced, for a reason that's bigger than all of us, to just get really present, sit down, talk, get, digital about it, and just see where it can go and see what's possible. I think that's a beautiful thing. I love that part about it. Maybe it's just me. I don't know.
No, I like that.
Yeah, right? I think, and we're, as single people, we're to take advantage of that. It's just, there's a big payoff in it. So number 2.
All right. Ring number 2.
Right? For leveraging. How people are navigating COVID is a big point of compatibility. So, I always say in my matchmaking that I have people that are kind of on the spectrum of COVID navigation. And on one end, it's like, I will only video date. I don't want to meet anybody face to face. I'm not leaving my house. I wear my mask to take the trash out. Like, I'm isolating myself. And then on the other end, there's people who believe it's all a hoax. Don't wear a mask anywhere. Don't care about the CDC. And they're just out there, probably super spreading or whatever. But that said, everybody else falls somewhere on that big spectrum, right? And what I have found in talking to different people and matching different people together is that their compatibility and how they're navigating this really says a lot about, whether they would work as a relationship together, or whether they would be able to, sort of navigate through adversity together. Because there's an opportunity. You see where I'm going? There's an opportunity to practice working through adversity. So, because it is a global thing, we can talk about it and not, it's not like before with dating where if you meet somebody and all of a sudden you lay on them, something serious that's going on in your life. They're like, whoa. COVID is one of those things that everybody's going through.
Right. At the same time.
At the same time. And you can bring it up in conversation. You can talk about it and people can relate. People have been going through similar stuff, or they've been doing similar things, or they've, been managing, coping, doing whatever. Everybody's doing it their own way. But because it's something adverse that you can just bring up in conversation and everybody gets it, everybody understands, it's a really great way to kind of figure out if the person that you're talking to, the person that you're meeting, is someone you can navigate through adversity with. Because how do they approach it? Where are they on the spectrum? And how are you approaching it? And are they willing to compromise? Are you willing to compromise? Like, you get to just in conversation, play with it and see if, could I be with this person if things go bad? Because do they approach adversity in a way that works for my personality and vice versa? Are we both, people who are like survivalists and we know how to plan around things and we know how to, be safe and we'd agree on that? Or do we kind of disagree, but we can work out a compromise that works for both of us? I have people who'll say, well, I feel comfortable with meeting in person, but I want to wear my mask and I want to, socially distance. And then someone else will say, but I feel awkward in the mask. So let's just meet on the Zoom and then, it'll be like a back and forth. But if they can come together on a agreement, on a collaboration, on a compromise that works for both of them, that says a lot for their compatibility. Right?
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. I mean, are they more survivor or are they more like it's the end of the world?
Right?
And they're just selling everything because they
yeah, because they're like, Armageddon. And that's the thing too, though, because if you have two people who are like viewing this like, we got to be on lockdown, we got to, they might struggle with the ever actually getting together face to face, but they're going to want to work through it in the same kind of way, whether it's that, I'm afraid to leave my house. I'm afraid to leave my house. So we're going to keep digitally dating until we start to slowly feel more and more comfortable and see each other as a safe possibility for how we can navigate, into each other's lives. So it might go very slow for those two people, but it's a point of compatibility because that's how they're handling it. And if there were any other adversity in their lives, they probably would approach it similarly as well, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I mean, the idea here is to just be open to playing with it all and just seeing where people are at, not needing for anybody to be where you're at or to set rules around it or whatever. Just know what's good for you. Like, I think it's really important right now for us to be responsible and a stand for how we're doing this. So like, I believe in the wearing of the mask. I believe in science. So when I'm out and, doing certain things that I know I'm going to interact with people, I go to the grocery store or whatever, I wear my mask. But when I walk my dog, I maybe see one or two people and the closest they ever are maybe 20 feet, on any given day. And so I don't usually wear my mask when I'm walking my dog. I keep it in my pocket in case something were to jump off and I need to be close to someone, right? So I think it's important for us to have sort of our framework for how we're doing it and know what feels comfortable for us and know what feels like, I'm following the guidelines or, whatever it is as far as how you're framing it. And then when you meet people, being able to just say, this is where I'm at with it and this is how comfortable or, how far I'm willing to go before I'm uncomfortable or I feel like I'm taking too much risk. And it's interesting because I have a lot of clients that are doctors and they're very much about the managed risk of it, right? Because they're constantly exposed. Obviously, they have all the PPE and stuff like that, but they're around it all the time. And so I've had a couple of them say the same thing about, I understand a managed risk. I know that just by my very profession, I'm at risk. So when I'm dating people, I let them know, what my situation and what my possibility is and, that I am at risk. And then it's up to that person to decide if that's something that they are okay with. And it sounds like it's like, oh, too much. I don't want to have to do that for dating. But if you look at it as an opportunity to see if you can work things out with a person, it actually becomes a very rich conversation. If nobody's making anybody wrong about it or judging anybody, it can become a very rich conversation between someone that you're just getting to know. And because we're getting to be around the holidays, we got plenty of time to have these conversations.
Right.
And you can be having them digitally to start off. Or you can be having them over Zoom and really digging into it. If you find yourself on a date, my single people, and there's not a whole lot of traction in the conversation, bring it up. Talk about like what you're watching on Netflix and how you're navigating it and what your sort of framework is and see what that other person has to say and talk about whether you can, see it the same way or collaborate on it. See it in a way that works for both of you.
The more that I think about this second point, the more I'm thinking that, wow, for a lot of people who are young daters, it's like more and more of an opportunity to actually see your potential partner in what you just said in terms of like a crisis. How do they handle a crisis?
Totally.
And then it's because it's natural. It's not like something that people can fake.
Yeah.
Right? They have to come out and say or do automatically what they're led to do.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's true. And, they used to say, I don't know if you've ever heard this, Brian, but they used to say that if you really want to get to know someone you're dating, go on a trip with them. Like travel. And I think we've talked about this before, like travel somewhere with them, because then you get that opportunity to see what they do when problems come up. But, like I said, COVID has given us this gift where you don't have to travel anywhere. You see how people are dealing with adversity. It's right there in front of you. It's some not so well.
Are they cool or are they screaming all day?
Right. But you get a chance to see and explore and find out, when you're talking to somebody. And a lot of this too is really just about taking the guesswork out of, because I think a lot of times for singles, especially as we get older, there's a lot of guesswork around dating and people get uncomfortable with it because there's so much unknown and you feel like you're constantly unwrapping and there's that fear that you're about to get to whatever that detail is about them that's going to be the deal breaker. Because we walk around with our, things that are the deal breakers, right? Oh no, you're a Trump supporter. I can't date you, which that happens a lot. Or you're a I don't know, whatever. Like, this is my deal breaker. Oh, you have kids. Your kids are, under the age of 12. Oh, I don't want kids. Or if they're, when it's younger people, they're like, oh, you're older and your kids are older. No, I don't want to deal with that. Like, people have all their different weird little deal breakers or their things that they feel like should be the thing that cuts it off. And I shouldn't say weird because I don't want to judge it, but, sometimes they are just kind of standing in their own way. But I think that, with something like this, it's just, like I said, you just get to see who someone is around things. And you don't have to be worried about, like, are they hitting my deal breaker? It's like, just explore. And you'll see if there's somebody who you can work with as far as a relationship. So you want to take a little break, Brian? You want to have a little commercial break? Yeah, I got more. I got about 4 more.
Well, bring them.
I'm going to bring them when we come back after we take this little break. Y'all better come back now. All right. So number 3, how to leverage COVID in the holidays and actually still find the love you want, have the dating life you want, with no pressure, because there's no pressure because it's the holidays and you don't have to feel like you need to stop because it's the holidays. And we sort of have touched on this already, but just to sort of drive it home, we have an opportunity to have very real, vulnerable conversations that we maybe would not have had otherwise, right? So we talked a little bit about how, like, COVID in general, the fact that everybody's been through it, you can bring it up and it's not a big deal. Nobody's going to be surprised, but it also opens up the door to, chit-chatting about how we are affected, like how we are affected emotionally. And that's not to say that you want to be looking to put on some emotional show on an initial date with people that you're meeting. But like I was saying before, because everybody gets it and everybody's going through it, you can almost forgo this small talk and people are okay with that.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to. Yeah, you don't have to be.
I was on a video conference with my boss.
What'd you say? Yeah, exactly.
I was on a video conference with my boss.
Yeah.
The day before.
Yeah.
I was on a Zoom call with my boss.
You were on a Zoom call with your boss?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, every day is the same.
Yeah, totally. But you can actually, because I think people are going through their different stuff around it. Like, I feel like you can actually bring up that you feel fear around it or that you feel, whatever emotions come up for you. I feel like, we're in a space now where everybody's feeling something. And I'm not saying, lay your heart bare and fall out Unless, if that's the way you're feeling, that's the way you're feeling. I don't want to take it away from you. But, I'm just saying that it's something that you can really talk about what your human experience is around it, and any kind of sadness, fear, worry, concern, all of that stuff. Dates these days it's okay to do that. There was a time, like Chris Rock calls it your representative. I feel like before COVID and before, 2020 in general, where it's like we had to be presentational for dates. We had to be composed, or we had to have a certain way about us. But, we just got to be honest about what's been going on in the world and how we communicate. Because of Zoom, most of us are in our pajamas. It's just not this big formal thing anymore. And yes, on a Zoom date, you can bring a bottle of champagne and, toast, and you can pretend like you're on a real date. And I always recommend that because it's fun. But, your dog could be barking in the background. You could get a phone call while you're on it. It's not formal like it used to be. So, the invitation is, when you're on these dates, be real about what's going on with you. And I think people will get it and bond to you based on it. I think this is another opportunity that COVID is offering us, like that we can be deep and we can be empathetic with each other. And it's so easy because we're all going through it. You just want to take advantage of this by just being willing to be real in the face of it all. Like, you can just be real about what's going on. And you don't, like I said, you don't have to be your representative. No one is buying our representatives anymore. I feel like because the world is shifting and has shifted in the way that it has, I don't think anyone buys it. Mm-hmm. When we show up as our representative, like,
a little bit pop in circumstance of, yes, you're going to come out there and with your tuxedo on.
Yeah.
And you're going for a casual date, that whole presentation thing, right?
Yeah, the emotional tuxedo.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I deal with people who try to keep up the facade. And you can see right then, and not just me. I think any of us as human beings, you can see right through it when someone's just trying to hold it together. As opposed to, just saying what is so. And sometimes saying what is so can be hard because you say what is so and then all of a sudden the floodgates open. But I feel like we're in an era where it's okay to just be real. Just be real about what is so, even if it's somebody that you have just met. And I guarantee, the more honest we are, the more upfront we are about what's going on, the more we bond to each other. And I talk to people, I say this because, I always talk about with matchmaking, it's like I go on 50 first dates every week because I'm basically first dating people on behalf of other people, right? So a lot of that is, asking questions, having conversation, engaging them, seeing what their personality is like, all of that. And the one thing I notice is that, my intention is always to bring my authenticity. So even if things aren't going so well and the dog is barking in the background or whatever, I say what it is, I'm plain about it. And I feel like I make a friend every time. And by make a friend, I just mean in that moment in time, in that present moment in time, whether or not I'm going to put that person on a date, we bond as human beings and get each other and understand each other and have a great experience of talking to each other. I think in I would say I've probably screened somewhere between like 250 to 275 people since I first started just matchmaking. And that's not including clients before that, in the years before that. But I think in that entire time, there's only ever been 3 conversations where there wasn't an actual bond of humanity. And in those 3 conversations, they're just, like whatever was going on with me, whatever was going on with that person, there was just no jiving. We didn't gel. And it just, it wasn't going to work. They didn't like my questions or whatever. But that's pretty good odds when you consider, I'm interviewing like 260 people. And I don't think it's about me. I think it's just about just sitting down and being truthful about where I'm at and allowing them to be truthful about where they're at. And you can do that in dating, right?
Right.
Yeah. Whereas it used to be that you had to be on your best behavior. You had to be poised. You had to pretend that you were being something rather than just, this is who I am and this is where I'm at with all of this right now.
Mm-hmm.
Love me or leave me.
I have a question at the end for you.
Yeah.
Until you get through the next 3. I think you'll like the question too.
You want to save it till the very end of it? Okay. So, number 4 way to leverage COVID during the holidays if you are single and dating. It's a built-in excuse for anything that any family or friends try to pressure you about. COVID is your built-in excuse. And I'm not saying, be manipulative or try to be affected by it in ways that you're not affected by it. A lot of people I feel like are using, I call it the COVID excuse, where for some people that's a real thing and, things have been happening based on it. But there are people who kind of use it as their reason for not so considerate behavior or whatever. We're human. We do stuff like that. But let's say, for instance, someone in your family member has issues or a commentary over your Thanksgiving Zoom call for why you're the only one in frame. Why are you sitting there by yourself? And, sometimes your mother can do that. Some, different people in your life can do that. But, or your drunk uncle, whatever. But, they're showing a little bit of an insensitivity to what's going on in the world by having a focus that's where you need to be, where you should be, a little level of judgment, a little level of criticism. And so, my suggestion is to say no one should be pressuring anybody about their life choices at a time when everyone is trying to survive.
Ooh, that's good.
Right? And if you say that, you will shut it all down. Exactly. Folks might be a little mad at you, but they'll be all right. If you just let them know that this is not the time to be judging people's life choices, you'll shut it down because everybody knows that that's true.
I mean, yeah.
Right.
Wow.
I mean, there might be some people who might want to kick back. I'm not saying start a fight with your family. Only you know your family and friends. But, as one of the things that you can leverage about this situation, that's one of those things. If anybody's bothering you or shaming you or pressuring you about where you should be, what you should be doing, who you should be with, you can always come back with, this is not the time to be pressuring anybody about their life choices. We're all just trying to make it. Right?
I'm glad we're recording this.
Are you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can go back and use that or sell it.
You can definitely use it or sell it. As long as I get my cut. All right, so another way that we can leverage for my single people. This one's not for you, Brian, but you're welcome to weigh in. But single people,
Number 5, right?
Number 5, single people, especially if you've been living single through this global situation and you don't have, roommates, friends, or other family that you're living with, you don't have cohabitation burnout. Right? So, right? You haven't been up underneath anyone and vice versa. The other single people you meet that have been on their own, they haven't been up underneath anyone. And so we're not soured by the thought of togetherness. Whereas a lot of people who have been isolated or quarantined with people, not all people, I think there are people out there who, have made the most of it, couples, families, that have made the most of this time together, and it's been special and it's meant something, don't get me wrong. But there also are a lot of couples out there who are suffering some serious togetherness burnout. And some where most of their couplehood relied on their ability to be apart for periods of time. And so, there's a gift in not having that experience right now, especially when it comes to continuing to date around the holidays. And so the other side of that is maybe the strong desire for having the companionship. And so it's just really about to balance it. So like you want to leverage the desire for togetherness and combine it with our common, freedom from this over proximity, and then allow ourselves to connect with each other on that level. So, that is another point of conversation. I've been on my own and isolated during this pandemic, and I do want to have connection. That is a great point of compatibility and finding common ground with someone as well. and just being able to be communicative and straight about it and flat about it can be very effective. It can be very bonding, with someone that you like. So, leverage that. Leverage the fact that you don't feel sick of people.
Huh?
Right?
Come home alone.
Yeah. I mean,
Chill out.
you're home alone, chilling out. Like, I really, for myself, as much as I'm one of those people that I love being by myself, even long before the pandemic. I love it. I love what I can do, what's possible, how I can just come and go, how I can leave my dishes in the sink if I want to. But I also, throughout this isolation, I'm really aware of that. I miss, of course I was living in Manhattan all those years, that social interaction, the hugging and the kisses on the cheek and the interacting with each other, whispering in each other's ears, even just friends and stuff like that, the talking, laughing, joking, sitting around together and things like that. So, with that said, it's like that desire, along with not feeling any sort of like, oh, I'm so sick of somebody.
Right.
It makes me prime for quality interaction. And I think that that's true of most singles. Not saying that coupled people aren't also primed for quality interaction, but, leverage the fact that you don't have that over proximity problem. And then number 6, which we kind of touched on a little bit already, right? The denouement. But let's like jump into it in a deeper way. We talked about the slowing of the pace, that there's no need to rush, right? So in fact, it could be dangerous to rush into things during this time. So let's leverage the fact that there's no need to rush, because even people who are usually quick to reject are forced to take some time and see where it can go, right? Because we are in that state of like, we want the connection, we want to, and what I'm noticing even with my matchmaking clients is that people are more willing to take a moment and see, rather than, oh, you don't look the way I want, bye, or, whatever it is. They're not so quick, because we're getting on the holidays. People want connection, people want interaction. So people are starting to loosen their requirements. They're starting to just be more empathetic and open to taking the time to slowly get to know someone and grow the chemistry. Like, I noticed that there's an air and an energy of that. So also there's things, when it comes to the rushing, it's not just the emotional rushing, there's also the sexual rushing. And so, the benefit of COVID and the holidays is the double layer of reasons to slow the pace, like things like getting COVID tested before you meet up or have sex, right? Or, not being able to bring outsiders into a family bubble. Like, let's say you are getting with, you're going to your parents' house, or you have been spending time with your parents. Right. It's not so safe to bring an outsider into the family bubble. So that you can leverage by, it'll keep the pace slow. You'll stay in, for women in particular. They always say you want to have that air of mystery, that air of unavailability. It's built in. Right? So leverage it. Take advantage of it. Let them miss you. You don't have to be as available, because there are legit reasons why not to be immediately available. And, let it go slow, because even though it may seem like it's restrictive, for the people who are looking for real long-lasting love, they know that it's a marathon and not a sprint. So wherever you live right now, that there's new spikes and stuff like that, the restrictions and the regulations that are going on in your town, use those, leverage them, because now you can't be so quick to jump out and go somewhere with somebody. And yeah, that might feel like in the immediate, oh, it sucks. But if you're talking about building a relationship and having to find those alternative ways, like a Zoom call or a phone call, in order to have contact with each other, allow it to be a slow build, and let it be that kind of sexy, forbidden Romeo and Juliet, we can't get together for whatever reason kind of thing. And Romeo and Juliet didn't even have digital communication. So, yeah. Leverage that. Take advantage of it. And I'm sure there are more. And for those of you who are watching later, and those of you who are watching now, we still have a few minutes. If you think of more, feel free to comment on some other ways that you can leverage COVID and dating during the holidays. And, I always come back and read comments and things like that. So the ultimate wrap up. Actually, Brian, what is it that you wanted to ask me before I wrap up the 6 or wrap up the...
Do you think that through this whole pandemic, that this is going to ultimately change the way that we date?
I do. And I can't say that I can predict exactly how it's going to look once we are free to see each other again. But I was reading an article that said that as we transist back into or into what is going to be our future lives, there's not going to be a delineation where all of a sudden the pandemic is over and we can go back to doing whatever we want. Sorry about that. Where we can just go back to doing whatever we want. It's not like, oh, it's going to cut off. Pandemic's over. Everybody go back to having fun. It's obviously going to be a taper, right?
Right.
We're going to taper back. We're going to taper into a new social life and how that works. And, like just the fact that Zoom is so prevalent now, I feel like it's going to continue to have a major role in how we get to know each other, for one thing. And because I think that people are learning that it is a really good vetting step. And I think that that's going to be part of what dictates kind of how we evolve. I don't know exactly what it's going to end up looking like once we're not worried about COVID at all anymore. But I definitely think that for so many things, this time of quarantine and isolation and, fears around our mortality and all of that are definitely going to change the landscape of how we relate entirely. Like even how empathetic we are with each other, how we take care of our family members, the fact that we have to be present to taking care of older people in a way that we didn't used to be. The fact that, so many things have gone on socially based on, the statistics of how many people of color that COVID kills. Like, I feel like we're present to things that, it's like we're not innocent anymore when it comes to our humanity and dealing with things like we used to be. It's like COVID is saying you can't walk around blind and only self-serving anymore.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's definitely going to look different. And my hope is that, we allow our humanity to emerge because Lord knows, the better, the more we're willing to love each other and give each other a break and understand. But there's nothing like going through hardship to teach us to be kinder.
Right.
So I'm very hopeful for how it's going to alter the landscape of dating, of all of our relationships. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
That'll be a good, future question to ask again once this is behind us. Because like you, I think it's going to change a lot of things.
Yeah.
And create a new normal. I mean, I truly believe that, COVID is here to help us grow.
Yeah.
Through a lot of different things. And to your point about how we relate to each other, specifically like in a romantic relationship or trying to pursue a romantic relationship, I definitely think it's going to have a big impact.
Yeah, I agree. We'll see. We'll keep talking about it.
Yes.
As we go along.
Wednesday.
Every Wednesday at 7 Live. So the wrap up on our topic, if you're single, unless you want to make the choice to be alone over the holidays, which is perfectly valid. But if you don't have to give up your dating life. You can actually just reframe the current conditions and perhaps come out of all of it with a brand new relationship. It's happening every day. People are still finding love. People are still getting into relationships during this time. It's still very, very much possible. And so the invitation is just to look where you can find leverage. Look where you can find, turn your perception into something that works rather than something that doesn't work, and see what happens and just explore it. No pressure, because I don't want to, be like that auntie at Thanksgiving who says that you need to bring a date, because you do not. You do not have to have somebody sitting in your Zoom frame with you if that's not what you want. But if it is what you want, there's opportunity out there and there's a lot available to you. So don't get sad, don't sit alone, and don't feel like there's no hope. And that's that. That's that topic. Yeah. Right?
Great topic.
Oh, thank you, honey. So if you want to join us for the Epic Circle on Mondays, the Epic Healing Circle for Women Everywhere, every Monday night at 6 p.m. Eastern, just, reach out. We've started our second collective, but, anybody's welcome to begin anytime. We cause transformation when it comes to communication, forgiveness, self-love, mother-daughter relationships, purpose, friendship, all the tools we need to be as big as we're meant to be. And we're giving a lot of support over these holidays. So if you are someone who chooses to continue to look for the love of your life and to date and do all of that stuff, join us in the Healing Circle, because we definitely support around dating and love and all of that good stuff. And thank you so much, my Brian, Solidity Magazine.
Hey, you know how we do.
Right, fantastically. Passion, purpose, and living. You can find us on Instagram at Ask for Candy Podcast, at Candy Love Coach, and at Solidity Magazine. Right. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. And that's it. And also email again is askforcandypodcast@gmail.com. Until next time, never forget that you are a love machine. If you ever start to feel like you aren't getting the love you need, just make more and ask for candy, my love.
Candy.
Mwah, mwah, mwah.
I call my sugar.